Common Knowledge is brought to you by PureMTGO.com and InkedGaming.com. Use coupon code CCMTG10 at checkout for a 10% discount on all Inked Gaming supplies and accessories. You can support the show directly through Patreon at patreon.com/common knowledge.
This is the Common Knowledge Podcast. It's not about the cost, it's about the knowledge. Here are your hosts, Brandon Clark and Lobbert.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 54 of the Common Knowledge Podcast. I am your host, Brandon Clark, and joined with me, as always, is my lovely assistant, Sean the Lobbert. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing pretty good this week. I got to play a lot of Magic. I got 2 competitive leagues in. Didn't do, I didn't 5-0 or anything like that. But I played one that was Blue-Black Delver, and I started recording a video for my YouTube channel, but kind of rage quit partway through because, not rage quit, but...
You have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, I did that before this podcast.
Oh, is that the... Lobbert on YouTube?
Did I spell it every week? Absolutely. So, yeah, I was recording that. I kind of just realized that I didn't have enough knowledge on the deck to put out a video that I felt confident in, like, anybody that was wanting to learn the deck or see what the deck's all about. That wouldn't have been a good thing, because, like, when I went to sideboard, I just really wasn't sure, and I made some bad decisions a few times. I gushed too aggressively, things like that. And then no
end step gushes though.
No, if I want to admit my mistake, it was they were casting like a Gurmag Angler, and I was just like, there's nothing I can do. If this lands, I have to make sure this doesn't land. And so I like gushed to find foil and just never found it. And I did that twice in one game.
And went down to
zero
islands.
And like,
okay.
I know that's bad. Like at the time I knew it was bad. I was just panic playing. And
sure.
I just didn't want to immortalize that on YouTube. I'll admit to it. I just don't want it like
immortalized.
Put it out there like there. Yeah. And then I played Corrupt Control. I've decided that deck is really, really bad in this meta right now in that other competitive league. And so I've decided I want to start brewing a new deck that I think would be good in this meta, and I'm trying out my Snow Jund list and modifying that. I started building it in paper, and there were some bad cards in the deck that I'm looking to take out. I am trying to put Chittering Rats in there, because I feel like Chittering Rats is a really good card for this meta right now. It's a good way to protect a Gurmag Angler.
Sweet. Yeah, I played a little bit of Magic myself. I've sort of started to figure out my school schedule and sort of for this new semester and like when I've got free time and whatever. And I played a league with elves for fun and had to play the Elf Mirror.
Oh, that's like the reason I don't play elves.
It was not fun at all. Oh my gosh, was it not fun? My opponent had like 200 power Elvish Vanguards. I had like 600 life. We all had like 1,000,000 creatures. Like they were like this big on the computer screen, like
tiny little rectangles.
Oh my gosh. It was bad. It was bad. Oh man. But anyway, right on. So let's get into the meat of the show today. We are a Pauper podcast, in case you haven't figured that out yet. And today we're going to be covering our Ravnica Allegiance top picks, our top 5 with a few honorable mentions. But before we get into that, a little bit of housekeeping. We are going to be doing away with the What Are We Playing segment in all of our shows. And instead, what we're going to be doing is at the end of every Power Rankings episode, Sean and I are going to pick a deck that stands out to us, preferably one that we've never played or haven't played in a long time. And we're going to play it for the month. We're going to try to play a league with it once a week or whatever our time schedule allows. And at the end of that month and the next Power Rankings show at the beginning of the show, we're going to spend 15 minutes or so discussing what we've learned about that deck and how we feel it fits in the metagame. And so this is going to do a couple of things for the show. One, I think it's going to help us to be more informed as hosts, getting a more broad understanding of the format and the different decks in the format, how they play. And two, we just kind of felt like what are we playing was getting stale because, Sean and I were kind of just playing the same thing a lot.
Yeah, and like when we allocate 10, 15 minutes to that topic, and we want to start off on a strong foot of when people start listening to the podcast, I don't like making things about myself, and that's exactly what that segment was. So
yeah,
it just wasn't playing to our strengths.
Yeah, I think that this is gonna do a lot to, I don't know, help. I think it's gonna help the show in a lot of ways. So
before we get into the main topic or anything, we do have. I'm gonna put it in the email. I'm gonna say, let's go into the email section of the show because we do have a YouTube comment I want to discuss.
Email.
So the comment was by Bozo. He comments pretty often. I feel like he has before.
Okay.
It's spelled the Beazou, and it was basically I didn't copy it verbatim, but it's basically like Brandon was saying how much he likes Ghastly Demise and wants that card added back into Blue-Black Delver. And you mentioned that it could kill anglers, but it actually says non-black creature. So does that actually change your mind on whether you still want that card in that deck?
Oh, it says non-black creature?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, my mind was actually changed a long time before that, before learning that just now. The reason being is cards like Scred and Lightning Bolt are kind of bad right now. And Ghastly Demise kind of falls into the same vein. There's a lot of... Like, really, it's just the Boros Bully matchup, That makes things really... Like, there's just a lot of go wide right now. I don't really want to be loading my blue-black decks up with a lot of just spot removal right now. And that's why we've been seeing the deck lists going higher and higher on the number of Echoing Decays. So that's why I've been off the card for the last couple of weeks, like since I said that. Yeah, I think this is just a stigma that I have of not like fully reading cards. Like there are so many cards that I don't actually ever physically read. I just like see them play and I'm just like, okay, it's a 1-mana removal spell for all the cards in your graveyard, whatever. And so I think I've actually said this on the show, like I need to like RTFC.
Yeah.
Like I think that is like my big level up moment right now is to just slow down, read the card clearly, like read it. Every single word, because that's also just how I read in general. I skim read because I am dyslexic. And the way I taught myself to read, because I can't just like sit and stare at a page and read it. It hurts my head. Like the way I taught myself to read was to like try to grab the key words. And if I can't puzzle together a paragraph or a sentence from that, then I go back and try to read it slower again. But so I kind of carried that into how I read Magic cards, and so I'll just like kill creature, cards in graveyard. Okay, I know what this card does, but I like miss some key points there. So that's like my thing. I need to read the cards. I need to read the cards because this isn't the first time that I've misread a card. But to answer the question, I am off that card. I have been for a couple weeks now. But I am just now learning that the card specifically says non-black.
Well, good. We all learned something today. So no card of the week this week because it's a set review episode and those typically run long. So do you want to get into the main topic?
We have lots of cards of the week today.
Yeah.
Main topic.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's jump into our Ravnica Allegiance set review. So we're going to start out with some honorable mentions. These are cards that we think could see Pauper play, but are not necessarily our favorite cards.
That's not true. Some of these are just interesting cards that we never think we'll see play.
Yeah, that's true too. But I mean, with the exception of one card on this list, I made this list with Pauper playability in mind. Like, this could fit somewhere. This has a niche that it like maybe could fill somewhere someday. So like, to say that I don't think any of the cards on this list would ever get played, I think that every single one on this list has a possibility, has a chance to get played somewhere. Like, with the exception of one card that I added for Vorthos for flavor, because it makes me happy in a weird way, in a sad way. Should we start with the first card?
Yes, I'll read it. It is Impassioned Orator. It is 1 and a white for a 2/2 human cleric. It says, when another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. So it's a soul bro, because it's a man on the picture.
Yeah. I think that's like soul daddy, soul grandpa. You know?
I like
So
bro.
They're the soul sisters, and he's the soul daddy.
Yeah, my big problem with this...
Soul bro is fun, too.
My big problem with this...
Into a soul king?
No.
Oh.
My problem with this is it doesn't say your opponent's creatures, and I think that actually is significant. I like that it has 2 toughness instead of just 1 like Soul Sisters, but I don't think that we're going to have it see play just because of that.
Yeah, and it's 2 mana, and there are already a lot of 1 mana options available, so I just don't know why you wouldn't play all the 1 mana versions, all the sisters. You know, maybe if you need copies 9 and 10, this guy comes in, but
it would only be for that toughness, because otherwise, yeah, you can just do like Suture Priest.
Oh yeah, Suture Priest exists too. Yeah, and that's just better. So yeah, it's just for that point of toughness. Okay. Next card is Justicier's Portal. It is an instant for 1 and a white. It says exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. It gains first strike until the end of the turn. That last sentence is probably largely irrelevant, but obviously this is a format about combat, so it's not completely useless. But the reason this isn't an honorable mention is it flickers something.
Yeah, that last line is the most important. It's most important in terms of playability, because we both have Cloud Shift and Otherworldly Journey.
Yeah.
And that line has to be important. I mean, what you want to do with these spells most of the time is block and then flicker. That's what I want to say. And it doesn't matter that it gives it first strike. You'd have to flicker and then block.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next card.
Next card is Fairy Duelist. It is 1 and a blue for a 1/2 Fairy Rogue. It has flash, flying, and when it enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-0 until end of turn. I mean, the relevant creature type of fairy is good. 2 toughness is good. Flash, flying, those are all good things. The effect is a little bit lackluster. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's... I don't know. I wish
it would have to be a pretty
dedicated
like tribal fairies deck for me to see this. Yeah.
And even then, I think there's still so many fairies that you could play over this. I don't know. If this was 1 mana,
well, yeah,
then it would be like infinitely better, right? Because
it would be broken at 1. I want to say
it would be broken at 1. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
This card is like exciting but disappointing all at the same time.
Yeah. So I don't see it seeing much play. I do think people are going to try it out in like blue-black fairies or mono-blue fairies. Probably blue-black fairies type of thing.
Yeah, it'll probably get played somewhere. I don't know that it's worth the inclusion. It could be. This is a format about combat, and this does affect combat, so it. Who knows?
I don't usually want to tap out of my blue mana I don't want to tap 2 down to affect combat when I'm a counterspell deck and it's not their end step yet.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't like it very much.
Well, I mean, it's probably going in a deck with Daze and Foils, so does it matter how much mana you have open?
Well, it's also going in they're going to run blue counterspell, like 3 to 4. And so you still want that mana.
Yeah, sometimes, but like you're also running 4 Dazes and 3 Foils probably. So more often than not, you don't care about having blue up. And if you are worried about having blue up, just, I don't know, don't block. Take your 2 damage hit. I don't know. I mean, I don't think this card's that good. I'm not trying to say it's going to be super good. I just personally don't think that the counterspell argument is a good reason to not include this in your deck. Like personally, right, personally I like having more instant speed options in my counterspell decks. You know, because what's the other alternative? You know, tapping out main phase to put an Augur Bolus into play or something. And like, granted, Augur Bolus is a good card, but like, if your argument is, you know, you don't want to tap your mana before their end step, shouldn't that be a knock against Augur too? This just gives you more options to keep your mana open, I guess.
I don't know.
I don't think it's good. I'm not trying to like take Augur out of your deck and put this in your deck. I don't know. I feel like your argument is slightly flawed. But anyway.
I see what you're saying. It's just, I just think it's a little bit awkward, is what I'm saying.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I can get that. Obviously, you want to be able to counter what they do in the second main phase, and forcing yourself to tap mana before then does create a liability when you have counterspell in your hand. But I think you could build your fairies deck in a way that you're not going to get super punished by this.
Yeah, and it is a decent snap target, I guess.
Yeah, that's true too. I don't know. I still just feel like there's probably just better elves. Like, if you're going to get punished for building your deck around this, it's because you built your deck around this. Like, you built your deck to try to accommodate this card when there are probably some better fairies that you could be playing in its stead, or just playing Ninja the Deep Hours or something. I don't know. Anyway, I think we've spent way too much time on this card for what it's worth. The next card, this is my favorite card in the whole set. It is 4 and a blue for a 2/5 homunculus with hexproof. It's called Homunculus, and it's a giant homunculus. And this card is garbage. But it's just more of the Fibblethip story. When did Return to Ravnica come out? Like 6 years ago? 6 years ago?
I think.
It's like 2013, 2014. So like 5 or 6 years ago. We've been following poor Fibblethip's story for like 5 years. That guy's just totally lost.
Yeah,
now his big Papa Homunculus is trying to find him, and searching the city for Fibblethip felt like sifting through the rain for a single drop of blood. Poor Fibblethip.
I don't have much to say here.
That's all.
Was he on Search the City?
Fibblethip?
Yeah.
I don't think so. He was on the card Totally Lost.
Okay, I just thought he showed up in one more time.
I think he did somewhere, but anyway, this card got an honorable mention for being fun.
Okay. Next we have Shimmer of Possibility. It is 1 and a blue for a sorcery. It says, look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. One of the reasons I don't like this is because we have strategic planning, which can dump the cards in your graveyard. And I think it's like 5 cards, I think. So,
yes.
Yeah, so that's definitely a knock against this.
Yeah. I do think this is a pretty strong effect, though. being able to see 4 cards is a lot of cards, and getting, any of them, we just have a better version of this already in the format.
Yep.
So, next card is Clear the Mind. It is 2 and a blue for a sorcery. It says target player shuffles their graveyard into their library, draw a card.
I would be way more excited about this card a few months ago when we got Devious Cover-Up. Like, before we got Devious Cover-Up. Because right now, Devious Cover-Up is the grind you out forever, like, Elixir of Immortality strategy card. And, like, we no longer... Like, this is the first effect that shuffles every card from your graveyard into your library that Pauper has ever gotten. But it's still 3 mana for a sorcery that effectively just replaces itself.
Do you think this card goes into the Devious Cover-Up decks? I mean, probably not, because you don't want to shuffle away your cover-up targets.
Well, the cover-up targets go into your library anyway.
Right, but if you've shuffled your whole graveyard into your library on turn, then you don't have anything for your next Devious Cover-Up. You've got to try to rebuild your graveyard before you can have a good cover-up, right?
I don't think that matters because they go back in anyway. I
so
don't think
now
it's
you're
good.
Now you're just casting a 4 mana counterspell that doesn't do anything.
Exactly, Clear the Mind isn't good because of that. Like, I see your point, I guess. I don't think it actually matters that it's like, okay, I have to wait to cast my Devious Cover-Up. Like, that part of its job is already done.
Sure. Okay. Yeah,
I just like it because it's a unique effect that's new.
Yeah, it is something different that we don't have. So
maybe you could go into Vinestorm. Like,
next
okay,
card.
No, 1 second. Just hear me out on this. So,
oh my gosh.
So Vinestorm. No, I've played a lot of Vinestorm, and like this might actually be a legitimate thing. So in Vinestorm, you look for every basic in your library, put them all in your hand. And then Tolarian wins. I think you run 17 islands, have them all in your hand, discard all of them, draw 17 cards, and then you'll have more Vinestorms and nothing to do with them. If you could put all of those back in your library, Vinestorm one more time, get all of them back in your hand, you now have just so many cards in your hand that, like, you can go off again. You can keep going off. This keeps the combo going. Like, that's
how does Vinestorm win? What's its win condition?
There's a 4 mana spell that adds a red mana for every card in your hand, and then you just fireball them out of the game. You use Kavarik's Torch because it costs an extra 2 to counterspell. It is a use case. It's a use case.
Okay. Next card. Ill-Gotten Inheritance. 3 and a black for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, Ill-Gotten Inheritance deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. Sacrifice Ill-Gotten Inheritance. It deals 4 damage to target opponent and you gain 4 life. And the sacrifice effect is 5 and a black. It has a black pip on it for Grey Merchant.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It kind of is on plan with what those types of decks want to be doing, which is just draining out your opponent.
Seems really, really slow, though.
Yeah, very slow. Come down on turn 4, and then, I don't know, doesn't really have a meaningful impact until you've gained, I don't know, 4 life out of it. So by turn 8, it's done something.
Well, on turn 6, I guess you could pop it, and then it will have gained you 6 life, because
it'll have drained for 6 for a total of 10 mana.
Yes, it's really steep. I don't like this card.
I'm not a huge fan of it either. Next card.
Yeah, next we have Plague Right. No, sorry. Next we have Plague White. It is 1 and a black for a 2/1. It is a zombie. It says when Plague White becomes blocked, each creature blocking it gets -1/-1 until end of turn. So 2/1 with flanking.
I think this card is fine. People like zombies is like a casual deck that people try to play in this format. So it has like a relevant creature text for that. It does have 1 toughness, which is bad, but less bad because it can't die to other X1s. So
I mean, that's a good point, yeah.
it still dies to like Electricity in the like, but it's never just getting blocked by like a Spellsetter Sprite or a Fairy Miscreant or
Or an
just
Augur of Bolas.
I mean, it could. Oh no, it doesn't. Yeah, this would eat Augur of Bolas. That's really relevant.
Yeah, that is.
So this card like does relevant things. It just kind of doesn't have a home, except for in this just sort of tier 2.5 deck that people play because
The zombies deck. Because
Yeah,
they like
people-
zombies.
yeah, they're just the zombie person. And I mean that's one of the beautiful things about Pauper is people can play what they want to play. I mean, the first Pauper deck I ever built, was Slivers.
Wasn't it? I thought it was Blitz. Is it Blitz?
Blitz was the first deck I built when I was like trying to be serious about the format,
Oh, okay.
but I've had the Pauper Sliver deck for like years and years. I just never play it. I own all the slivers. I just like the slivers. They're cool. Little snaky boys.
I hate them. Do you want to read Deface?
All right, so our next honorable mention is Deface. It's a single red for a sorcery. It says destroy target artifact or destroy target creature with defender. So, I mean, it's a 1 mana artifact removal spell, and it does have versatility. If you're ever in a meta where people are playing the Defender's deck and Affinity in your meta, you've got
Smelt
Deface.
is most likely better than this.
Smelt kills creatures with Defenders?
No, Smelt is just instant and says destroy target artifact.
Yeah, but this gives you versatility, so you don't have to be setting aside all this space in your sideboard to kill creatures with Defender and artifacts.
You're wasting my time. So we've got, next up we have Spewer. It is a single red for a 0/2 with Defender. It is a Goblin Warrior. You may tap it and deal 1 damage to each player. So it's not even like what's the goblin that has the string and he's flipping around a ball of fire. I don't know. It's just like a 1/1 pinger guy. Because this does damage to you as well. I guess it's a defender. That's not really a plus in red. So I don't like this a whole lot, but it is new and unique.
Yeah, it's a 0/2. That's probably the most relevant thing is that the toughness box says 2.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I can't block really effectively at all.
No, not really. The last card on the list. No, I lied. Third to last. We have 2 more cards after this. Cerulean's Caretaker. Single green for a 0/3 defender that says tap it, tap an untapped creature you control, add 1 mana of any color.
What you thinking on this?
So, I mean, I'm not super familiar with the Defender's deck, but this is a 1 mana defender. It's a 0/3. It helps buy you time on the ground, and it helps fix your mana. I don't know if that's relevant, but that's why I included it as an honorable mention.
The Defender's deck does have extra creatures that don't tap for mana, so it's possible that this will, the tap ability can make mana. They do have ways to fix their mana pretty effectively already, so that's not a huge issue. And I think that the 1-drop slot is being used up by the 1 mana defender that you can pay 1, tap it, sack another defender.
Yeah.
Your audio just went crazy. Okay, we fixed Brandon's audio. Yeah, I think the guy who lets you sack other defenders eats up the 1 mana spot in that deck. I guess this guy can also use guys with Summoning Sickness to tap. I just think that the spot is already taken, so it's not really that notable.
Okay. Sweet.
So next we have Simic Locket. I guess this
No.
is all of the lockets.
Yeah, it's just the cycle of lockets. I included Simic Locket's picture in the show notes because it was the best artwork.
Okay, you heard it here first, guys. Yeah, these are just 3 mana to play. They make one of the 2 colors for the guild. They're an artifact. You can pay 4 hybrid mana and draw 2 cards off of it. These, I've tested the other ones, and 4 is a lot. It really is a lot.
And 3 is a lot for a mana rock.
Well, I was finding that part was fine. I could get to 3 mana.
You wouldn't just rather have a signet in that slot?
The turn it comes out, I could cast like Flame Slash or something like that. That's what I was doing with
it. Okay, sure. You can pay 3 for it, get it down, and then still cast a 1 mana spell.
Yeah, but honestly, I think you're right that signets are probably going to be better in most decks. So I don't think these are very good. I was kind of excited before. I'll probably test with them again. But
okay.
Ready for the last honorable mention?
Yep, our last honorable mention is Law Mage's Binding. 1 white and a blue for an enchantment aura with flash. It says, enchanted creature can't attack or block, and its activated abilities cannot be activated. To me, this just feels like a worse Oblivion Ring. It's harder to cast, and it's more narrow, but it does have flash.
Yeah, the things like Oblivion Ring, at least when they kill your enchantment, it still has summoning sickness, and this doesn't. They can just immediately use their creature. The word flash on this is the only thing that we are like,
Yeah, the only
better
thing
give it an honorable mention.
Yeah, that's the only reason it's even on here. I didn't actually even have this included in the honorable mentions. And Sean added it in and kind of convinced me that it deserves an honorable mention spot.
And enchantments can do some neat stuff as far as it's tutorable since it's an aura.
Yeah.
And there isn't like an enchantments deck, so this locks up a creature pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it does good things. It's a good it's a really good removal spell.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's effectively an Oblivion Ring with flash if all you care about is hitting creatures, which in this format, there's not a lot else that you care about hitting with Oblivion Ring, so
in a blue-white deck, you do want the blue up, and then if you can just lock down their creature on their end step, that's not the worst thing.
Yeah, it turns off their activated abilities too, which is relevant. Yeah, I mean, Oblivion Ring is better, obviously, because it's less narrow. But at the end of the day, I guess also just like if you're really worried about it, you should have 4 Journey to Nowhere in your deck. And if you do have 4 Journey to Nowhere in your deck, you're probably set. I don't know. Maybe if you really need something else and you want to be able to hold mana up, you would put this in your deck over an Oblivion Ring after your 4th Journey.
Yeah.
Anyway, so those were all our honorable mentions from Ravnica Allegiance. Let's jump into our top 5 picks for Pauper. Our Pauper picks for the Pauper format. Starting with our number 5 Pauper pick. Sean, what is your number 5 Pauper pick?
My Pauper pick, number 5. I hate this. I had a really hard time ordering these.
Oh, sorry. I appreciate that you tried to play along. You tried to humor me for at least a minute. I think it's really a testament to your feelings for me as a friend. You really do care about me, that you're willing to at least humor my silliness for even a few seconds.
I think people are dying to know. I don't know about that, but
what your number 5 is?
Yeah, so my number 5, and I just wanted to caveat this with, This order has driven me nuts. Like this should be higher on here, but I've been reordering this all day. This wasn't even on here until like 5 minutes before we started the show. It wasn't even in our honorable mentions until I double checked the set. It is Sagittars Volley. I don't know how to say that word, but it is 2 and a green for an instant. It says destroy target creature with flying. It deals 1 damage to each creature with flying your opponent's control. Sorry, Sagittars Volley deals 1 damage to each creature with flying your opponent's control.
What is a Sagittaire? Like,
I don't know.
Like a satyr archer? A Sagittaire?
Well, the flavor text does say...
Yeah, bowstrings, and the picture is arrows.
Yeah, my bowstring hums in tune with the song of the world soul. Alcris, Selesnius Sagittar.
All right, any Vorthos experts out there that can enlighten us about what a Sagittar is? We need to know.
Well, let's Google it.
We ain't got time for that. We set reviewing, bruh.
I mean, the only thing that comes up is Sagittarius. So, I don't know if that's just Google auto, whatever. So, the reason I like this card is there are a lot of 1/1 flyers in our format, either in Delver or in one of the Boros lists. You can take out, say, like a Core Skyfisher or their Delver of Secrets with the first ability on this, and then it'll do 1 damage to each other creature they control, so you can really 2-for-1 them efficiently, like killing a Core Skyfisher and a whole Battle Screech at instant speed.
You can kill a Spire Golem and a whole bunch of fairies.
Yeah, like there's some big flyers that we care about, and one thing, if they want to 2-for-1 themselves, they can kill their own guy to fizzle the spell so it doesn't deal 1 damage to the rest of their guys. So maybe keep an eye out for that, but it's still 2-for-1ing them one way or another as long as they have those guys out there. So when you're behind, this is a very good spell, and this is still good when you're ahead. So it's
probably game winning when you're ahead in the right. Like if this card's in your deck and you're ahead, this card's probably game winning.
Yeah, it is a sideboard card.
Clear out all of your opponent's blockers and just smash their face in.
So is this reason to main deck both this and Flight Spellbomb? Give their Gurmag Angler flying and then Sagittarius volley it out of the air. Boom! Got him. Got him.
Got him. You got him, man. You got him. All right, my number 5. And this is on here not necessarily because I think it's like powerful or going to have like a meaningful impact on the format, but I know for a fact this card is going to get played and people are going to love it.
It probably will see more copies in play than any other spell on this list.
I think that you're correct. When this card gets played, it will be played in higher numbers than any other card on this list. Any other card in the format, in fact, with the exception of 2.
What is it?
The card is Persistent Petitioners. 1 in a blue for a 1/3 human advisor. It's 1 tap. Target player puts the top card of their library into the graveyard. Tap 4 untapped advisors you control. Target player puts the top 12 cards of their library into their graveyard. In this last piece of text, a deck can have any number of cards named Persistent Petitioners. So this is basically, this is Rat Colony. What's the other rat?
Relentless Rats.
Relentless Rat. This is in the same vein as those cards. I do, however, think that this card is just much better than those cards are. It's a 1/3 to start. It doesn't interact in combat. It doesn't really care if the creature, like if 1 Persistent Petitioners dies, it's not like all of a sudden my army's gone from a bunch of big creatures and now it's, just smaller.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and I have seen, And I have seen people screwing around with like Amiiboid Changeling and Battle Screech to give all your creatures every creature type. So
I was looking that up, and Amiibo Changeling says you have to tap it to make one creature.
it's just one. Oh, it's just
So
one
it's got to be a
creature?
different spell. We were
It must
discussing
have
this
been a different
beforehand.
spell. I tried to find it again, and I remember that like I saw somewhere someone was talking about this, and I couldn't find it, but they had something in there, and then Sean was like, "Is it a Amiibo Changeling?" I'm like, maybe. But they were doing something where they were turning their Battle Screech tokens into advisors somehow, so that they just had an army of advisors in a can, and there was just like mill 12.
I mean, whenever I think about mill, I convert it into damage effectively. So say your opponent has 45 cards left in their deck, because that's how many they're probably going to draw themselves if they're not cantripping a lot. This is doing, I don't know, the equivalent of 5 damage, tapping 4 guys to do 5 damage, which is quite a bit. It's just you have to expend a lot of cards.
Yeah. So this deck's probably not going to be good, just like the Rat Colony deck's not very good. I do think this is a better version of the Rat Colony deck, and it's going to be fun. People are going to play it, and they're going to have fun.
Yeah, I mean, I have a friend who has the man crush on mill. Like, every time a mill card is spoiled, like, he doesn't really play Magic that much, but it was within an hour of this being spoiled, I got a text that was like, I'm building this deck, and I was just like, all right, man, like, here's like some cards that I like in mill, knock yourself out.
See, you don't need other cards. You just need persistent petitioners.
Just 40 of these. Or are you going to want to pick these up off of tables because everyone who needs them needs 20 of them?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, this card's definitely like $1. You're just picking dollar bills up off of tables.
Okay.
Like, it was yesterday, you just couldn't believe the price of Rat Colony.
Yeah.
When you saw that the store was selling them for $1, you're like, is that real? And I'm just like, yeah, I have like 40 of them in my box that I just pick through people's draft chaff at the end of the night. Oh, there's 2 Rat Colonies in here. Yoink. Yeah. This card will probably be the same way. Because anyone who needs one needs 25. So
it's a fun card, though.
It is kind of cool.
We haven't talked about the fact that it still has the ability of paying 1 and tap it to mill them 1.
Yeah, so even on its own, while you're trying to build up a board of petitioners, you're still milling them.
Or yourself.
Oh, so like your turn 2, this comes into play. Your turn 3, another one comes into play with 1 mana up. You've got 2 blockers. They can't really attack into you. You block and tap it and mill their card. Or you just mill their 1 card on their end step. Then you untap and you play your 3rd one. And now you've got 2 mana up to mill, or you just play 2 of these out and you've got your 4. And then you just can immediately tap, because the second ability doesn't care about summoning sickness. It just says tap 4 of them. It's not, so you could just immediately on turn 4 have 4 of these in play and just make them mill 12.
The thing is, I would still be tentative on this card if it said 3 advisors in play.
Yeah, force. I mean, like the perfect world is that you're going to get to 4, because people are going to kill them. This format has a lot of removal in it, but...
Do you mind if I Google something real quick?
Sure. I just think this card is fun, and people are going to build it and put him, they're going to build their for funsies deck. And every once in a while, they're going to get someone with them, and you're going to be milling them out for 24 cards at a time.
Okay, so what I wanted to Google was, including this, there are 8 advisors in Pauper now. And
that's 8 more than I expected.
One of them, you have to be the monarch to do anything.
Oh, gosh.
One of them, it grants you an additional vote when voting. So that doesn't do anything. Oh, another one does that. Yeah, the rest of the advisors are just trash garbage. Like, really bad.
With the exception of changelings.
Yeah, any changeling is better than any of these. Like, the best one is a 2/2 bear.
I guess the 1 mana 1/1 changeling, Moth Dust changeling, just to have a 1 mana advisor so you can go do that. I don't know. Probably not even worth it. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to think too hard about this because if I'm going to leave that to someone else. Someone else is going to experiment with this and have fun with it. Let's talk about your number 4 pick, Sean.
So, number 4, I have Summary Judgment. It is a colorless and a white for an instant. Summary Judgment deals 3 damage to target tapped creature. It has Addendum. If you cast the spell in your main phase, it deals 5 damage to that creature instead.
5 is bigger than 3.
Yeah, so to take out something really big like a Garmog Angler, you do have to let it hit you or chump block. And then you can cast this.
Or you just... Oh, yeah, because it has to be tapped. Yeah.
You can tap it yourself.
Tricky. That's tricky.
If you use one of the spells that taps a creature, there are a lot of them, and they're not the worst spells. Like, there's a 2 mana tap a creature, draw a card. We now have Fire Ice. So...
Oh, yeah.
When I saw this card at first, I was like, oh, finally, they printed an instant speed white targeted removal spell that does a significant amount of damage. And then as I molded over, I got less and less excited about it. Because the last spell that we got like this was just destroy target tapped creature for like 2. And that was bad.
All right, I will talk about my number 4 pick. My number 4 is Growth Spiral. Green and a blue for an instant. It says draw a card, and then you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. So this is Explore. It's instant speed, and it's a little bit harder to cast because it's green-blue, not colorless green. But it is an instant, so I do think that this is a strictly better Explore. I think instant speed more than makes up for the color requirement on the card.
Yeah.
But I mean, Explore's not really super played in the format already. So I just
like
don't
0 played. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't see this card changing this. This card isn't so great. You know, it's not like there's just a plethora of decks out there that are just like wishing they had a better Explore. You know?
Well, so this is actually higher on my list. It's my number 3. The reason it's like the reason I put it higher on my list is in my experience playing blue-black Delver, playing lots of gushes in a deck is really good. You're just constricted on how many land drops you can make in a turn. It is instant speed, so if you went and tutored for your forest and then started putting islands into play and then left mana untapped or something, you could make more land drops, be able to gush more often, be able to daze more often. So like a blue-green Delver deck with, I don't know, Vines of the Vastwood, some of these, a bunch of gushes, dazes. Like, I was low on this card until I started thinking, like, that could be a deck. That really could be. Like, this fits somewhere.
Yeah, okay. I can see it. I'm envisioning it in my head. And I'm not in love with the idea, but I don't hate it.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle too. It's a very high likelihood that this card will never see any play. Explore hasn't ever seen any play, but the instant speed I think is good.
Yeah. Okay. And it was your number 3. I had it at number 4. You've got it at number 3.
Do you want to move on to your number 3?
Yeah. And my number 3 we've also already talked about. That is Sagittarius Volley. I think this card is just really powerful. I think it's a really strong sideboard option for green decks that, you know, are going to struggle with, you know, high toughness flyers like Core Skyfisher and Spire Golem and stuff. So I think this card's pretty good.
And yeah, like it's the extra ability on it is definitely worth the extra mana over Plummet, and people do play Plummet in sideboards.
Yeah. Yeah, they have. And this is, I think, just in a lot of ways, just better than Plummet. Even with the extra mana tacked on, I still think that second sentence of text is just so powerful.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it and we've discussed it, I would say that this should be higher than my number 4 or 5 pick. Like, you're probably right here.
Okay. And for our number 1 and 2, we both have the same thing in the same order. So, Sean, do you want to talk what our number 2 pick is?
Our number 2 pick is Final Payment. It is a white and a black for an instant. It says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, pay 5 life or sacrifice a creature or enchantment. Destroy target creature. This could easily be number 1.
It could be, yeah.
There are that's a lot of different things that you can pay.
Do you remember last set review where I was talking about Hunted Witness and just wanting a lot of, not Avacyn's Pilgrim, Doom Traveler effects? This is one of those cards where you're just like, I just want as many Doom Travelers as I can have in my deck.
I disagree because I don't think it's that important. Like, you could play like a Lone Missionary and you're fine sacking that Lone Missionary, or that Lone Missionary gained you 4 life, so you just pay your 5 life.
5. Okay.
And then the last thing is that when it says enchantment, you can put Journey to Nowhere on the stack, target the creature, and then instant speed, Final Payment, take out 2 creatures regardless of power and toughness, and they're exiled permanently.
I forgot about that. Yeah, Journey to Nowhere has that old templating for the enchantment. That's busted. Holy cow.
I mean, and it can take out Guardian of the Guildpact, because it's
not monocolored.
Yeah, it's not monocolor, so this really hits a lot of stuff.
Okay. Wow, this card might be my number 1 now. I think that the only thing that's not keeping it at my number 1 is I'm just not super sure that this deck wants to fit into the existing black-white decks. But maybe it just does. Maybe it's just that good.
I honestly think it does. I think that it's good enough. I'm gonna make I've changed my list twice since this episode has started. My list is now Summary Judgment, then Growth Spiral, then Sagittaire's Volley, Brandon's number 1 pick, and then for number 1, I have Final Payment.
Okay. I think I'm still going to keep Final Payment at number 2, but that could just change really quickly. I don't know. I think that you're right. Like this card will go into decks that don't necessarily care about sacrificing creatures. But I think that this is also the type of card that could push a strategy, like an aristocrat strategy, just kind of over the top. We have a lot of Doom Traveler effects. We do have some other like little payoff things, we have like, you could do like Nantuko Husks or something like that.
Carrion Feeders.
I just kind of always felt like that deck needed another something to make it sort of more viable, and I think that this card is that card. The reason I'm still going to keep it as number 2 is because this card, I just believe, is not broken. It's just really, really powerful in an already existent deck that is viable in a tier 1 environment, and that is Skewer the Critics. And obviously this card just goes into burn.
Read it.
Skewer the Critics. 2 and a red for his sorcery that says Skewer the Critics deals 3 damage to any target. So this is what's that card called? Suspend. Riftbolt. This card is Riftbolt without suspend, but it has some more relevant text. It says Spectacle for red. And Spectacle is a new mechanic in the format where you may cast the spell for its alternate spectacle cost rather than paying its mana cost if an opponent lost life this turn.
And this is our one and only spectacle card that we actually thought was playable.
Yes. and this card is really playable.
Can I go into why I'm doubtful?
Sure. I mean, I've just already seen people putting this into their modern burn deck lists. So yeah, this card's really, really good.
So I've played quite a bit of burn, and that deck does feel kind of jam-packed with stuff already, and this kind of runs into the same problem that Needle Drop runs into, of sometimes you don't deal them damage and it's hard to cast. I mean, you can still cast it, unlike Needle Drop, which you just flat can't. So there is that. There's the backup plan built in. But anybody playing, I guess, Magma Jet, this is going to be better than your Magma Jet. I've never liked that card. When I'm playing
definitely
the Gitu Lava Runner as your only creature kind of burn, and I think I would have to cut something like Lava Spike, which I definitely think that's not something you do, or Flame Rift, because I have 3 Flame Rift, and going down some number of those to buy me a little bit more time, and still doing 3 damage to any target, either clearing a path or something. So like, it's good, but I'm not super crazy about it.
Is Spurn still playing Curse of the Pierced Heart?
It is playing Curse of the Pierced Heart. Curse of the Pierced Heart doesn't help with that. It's sorcery speed, and it deals damage to them on their turn.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So you'd have to cast something else or connect with one of your creatures, which usually die. So I have some reservations here, but it's still one of the best cards in the set, because 1 damage or 3 damage for 1 mana, it's still a lightning bolt effect. You can't underestimate those.
Yeah. I still think that I'm higher on it than I am Final Payment, but like I said earlier, that could just change really quick, because I think Final Payment is very good. And I mean, obviously, like, Pauper Burn is a lot different than Modern Burn, but just hearing people in the Burn community talking about this card going into their decks, some people are skeptical of it, but a lot of people are just like, no, this is insane busto. It's going into my deck right now. And I did watch someone, I think it was Day 9, was streaming Arena, and he had this card in his, or he played against someone who had this card, and it was seriously like he untapped on his turn 3 and was like below 10 life, just having 1 mana bolt effects. I don't know. It just looks really powerful.
I think you're right. It does look pretty powerful,
but I don't know.
The more I think about Final Payment, though, I'm just excited.
Yeah, I was kind of high on Final Payment, and then you said the Journey to Nowhere synergy, and that like got me really excited about it. So it probably is better than Skewer the Critics, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think these cards are like both my number 1. I just I don't even know if I can decide. I think that I like Skewer the Critics more because it's just obvious where it goes if it does go somewhere, you know what I mean? And Final Payment, it probably just goes pretty well into the black-white Pestilence decks, but maybe Final Payment can, reinvigorate an old archetype or spawn something, a new sort of black-white deck.
Final Payment does have a lot more work to do. Skewer the Critics is going into a deck that's starting way ahead of the starting line comparatively. It's just going into a more popular deck.
Yeah. And I think that's why I'm keeping it up number 1 for me.
I mean, getting rid of 5 life is not the greatest thing when you're a Pestilence deck, but I guess you could sack your Pestilence.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a thing too. You can do a small Pestilence, and then if they've still got something big hanging around, you can Final Payment, because I mean, the Pestilence was going to go away anyway. The only difference is you're saving yourself a few points of life by not Pestilencing for big. I mean, you're kind of 2-for-1ing yourself at that point still, when you could just kill the creature with your Pestilence.
Yeah. So my stupid brain just thought of something. What if you went 3 colors and you just sacked your Rancor? Got him.
That's so good. Oh my gosh, I love it.
It's got your Tethmos High Priest, your final payment. You got nothing but stuff to sack.
I love this. That's so great.
Yeah, it allows you to take that Rancor back off of your creature, and then you can retarget your Tethmos High Priest, get back your guy who you'd sacked previously to get a 1/1 flyer. Oh, the synergy. We're living in it.
This is incredible. Final Payment's my number 1 pick. That's so good. Yeah, you've convinced me. Final
That
Payment's my
convinced you?
number 1.
We're going 3 colors. Gosh.
It's so much value. Oh my gosh, it's so much value.
You've gone 3 colors to 1-for-1 them for 3 mana.
No, because you're getting all your Rancor synergies with your Tethmos High Priest.
Oh yeah. All
You're
right,
generating value and killing their creature at the same time. Like, that's, in terms of virtual card advantage, a 2-for-1. Bro, this is busto.
Yeah.
And you've got your Journey to Nowhere's in there too for the Journey, trigger on the stack. Pow, shuckabooey. 2-for-2. Boy. Bro, this deck's busted.
So you building it?
No.
Right.
Gosh.
I think that's
All right.
it.
Yeah, let's wrap this up. I think that up until that point, this was our least silly set review.
Yeah, until I changed my top 5 like 3 times, and then yeah.
Oh man. Well, thank you everyone so much for listening. This was Common Knowledge episode 54, Ravnica Allegiance set review.
End times.
If you'd like to support the show, you can do so directly at patreon.com/common knowledge. Where there you're going to get access to our spreadsheet, our graph with all of our power rankings data, as well as the Common Coliseum. That one's exclusive for patrons. The graph is available to anyone who just goes and visits the page. We're working towards that stretch goal for the 5-card blind tournament. We did talk about last week. What do you guys want to see? This is open to the viewers. If we don't get any feedback and we hit our stretch goal, we're going to go forward with the 5-card blind tournament.
Which I'm excited about.
Yeah, if we do get feedback on what you guys want to do, well, obviously we're going to do what you guys want to do. So another great way to support our shows, to support the network that we are affiliated with. So go to YouTube, check out Constructed Criticism, and check out all the great work that Spencer Howland's doing over there. It's a growing network. There's lots of podcasts. There's Seth Manfield, John Stern, yada, 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 all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Deck
Seth
techs.
Manfield.
There's deck techs and stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's trophy mages and there's all sorts of stuff. So much stuff. So if you just want to get buried in Magic stuff, go to YouTube, Constructed Criticism, smash that like button and subscribe, bro. If you would like to email the show, you can do so at commonknowledgemtg@gmail.com. We love your emails. We read them on the show. We laugh at them. We giggle at them if they're amusing. Sometimes you guys just send us funny emails that we're like, we're not going to read this on the show, but
We love corrections, by the way.
Oh, yeah. No, I love the fact that one of you pointed out to me that Ghastly Demise did not do what I thought it did, because it helps affirm to me that, one, it's presented in a way that's like, oh, you care about the show. It wasn't just, Brandon's a dumbass. Read the card. It doesn't kill black creatures. It was an actual question. you know. But at the same time, I took it as feedback of like, oh, like that's a knock on me. I should read these cards clearly, you know. It's kind of embarrassing that I didn't know that that didn't kill non-black creatures, or that it just slipped my mind. But at the same time, I appreciate that someone out there gave me the feedback and asked the question in a way that wasn't demeaning. That was nice. I don't like my feelings being hurt. Don't hurt my feelings. Shout out to our sponsors, puremtgo.com and inkgaming.com. Use that coupon code CCMTG10 at checkout with Ink Gaming. And finally, to wrap it up, Sean, where can listeners find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Lobbert8, Lobbert, number 8. You can also find me on YouTube if you search Lobbert. On my Twitter, I'm trying to start doing some polls to fill out my matchup graph or grid to see if I can kind of map the format and see if anything's like better placed, worse placed. I think if I can get some good data and some matchup stuff there, we can do some cool stuff. Like if we can find out what percentage of the meta a certain deck is, plug that into the graph, you know, we could kind of mathematically figure out if something is better placed in. And that would be some cool information. So come participate there on my Twitter. And one thing I don't think we touched on the YouTube is if you leave YouTube comments, I'm going to try to look at those before each show for the last 3 shows so that we can get some more feedback, because we get probably 10 times the YouTube comments that we do emails. So we're going to start pulling from those more.
Yeah.
Anyway, where can they find you and the podcast on Twitter?
So you can find the podcast on Twitter at CKPodcastMTG. You can find me on Twitter at bclark_CK. And you can find the podcast as well on Facebook. We have a Facebook group, so just search for Common Knowledge.